What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Christ-Centered Mental Health. I'm coming to you right now. My name is David Lee Chu Sarche. I'm going to be doing the next part in my video series, going over Competence and Counsel by J. Adams. I'm in chapter 9 now. But first, before I get on with the chapter, this is going to be a shorter video than yesterday, or than the one I did a couple days ago. But before I go on to that, I just want to clarify on something. I got cut off on my video last time where I was talking about chapter 8. That my video ended up going too long. I was talking about people that have mental illness do want to work. Okay, maybe some people with mental illness probably don't want to work, but the vast majority of people I've known, and myself personally, we want to work. But because of our mental illness, it makes it extremely difficult for us to work. I mean, there's times where I don't even want to get out of bed in the morning because I'm so depressed. And it's not even that I don't want to get out of bed; it's that I can't get out of bed in the morning. No matter how hard I try, I'm just so depressed that I'm just catatonic. I can't possibly go to work in that kind of state. Or there's times where I have delusional thinking. And we could be thinking something completely irrational that's causing us to act irrationally. How can you go to work in a state like that? And I'm not the only one who's experienced this. Other people with mental illness experience this. That's why a lot of us don't work, because and then also another thing that makes it difficult to go to work is because we have to stick to a strict schedule. We have to see our psychiatrist, we have to see our counselor, and if we get a job, our job may or may not be willing to work with our schedule. And if we don't see our psychiatrist, we don't get our medication, and if we don't get our medication, then we can't function properly. We'll end up spiraling out of control. And so we have to see our psychiatrist and counselor and stuff like that. And some of us even go to group therapy, and that we have to go to too. So if we do get a job, we have to explain to our boss, hey, look, I need these days off because of this reason. And I mean, if you can find a job that's willing to work with you on that, then fine. You're blessed, and you should consider yourself blessed. But most employers, they don't want to work with you when you say, you need to see a psychiatrist. That's more important than working. They won't want to work with you. Or sometimes, I know me personally, and I know other people who have mental illness. When we do have a job, there's days where we need to take mental health day offs, or mental health day off. We need to take a mental health day off because we're just so overwhelmed and stressed that we can't go to work. And employers don't want to hear that either. It's easier to tell your employer, hey, I'm sick and throwing up and I have the flu, than it is to say, hey, I need a mental health day off so I can get my mind back together again, and then I can come to work the next day. Employers don't want to hear that. They'll just fire you, and then you have to look for another job. So it's not that we don't want to work. It's just that there's extenuating circumstances that make it difficult for us to work. So I just want to get that cleared up, because I don't know, I'm afraid that people may have taken me out of context in my last video. And it wasn't your fault. The camera cut me off early, so I wasn't able to get my full point out there. Anyway, so I'm going to go over chapter 9 of my series. And if you're new to my series, please watch my other videos in the series. It's titled A Mentally Ill Christian Reads Competent to Counsel. Go back and watch my video from the introduction till now. This chapter is titled Some Principles of Nouthetic Technique, and it's chapter 9. Again, I'm going to go over the parts that I highlighted. I highlighted the parts that I agree with in pink, and I highlighted the parts I disagree with in yellow. This is going to be a shorter chapter. The first thing I agreed with, he said writing and recording is especially important to clients whose lives are unstructured because the medium itself tends to structure. I agree with that. Like I love journal writing. It helps me get my mind in order when I write in a journal, and it helps me to focus easier. And there's a lot of benefits to writing and recording. Like, so I agree with that. Like the next part that I agreed with. Hold on. The next part that I agreed with was this part right here. He said, and so not everything has to be disclosed before clients can begin to find relief. Problems may be taken up at a time, one at a time, but usually several emerge at once. The iceberg method means that whatever is protruding above the surface, even though it be a very small amount to the iceberg, is material for counseling. As the counselor chips away at the top, more and more the iceberg rises until eventually the bulk of it is in sight. As a matter of fact, addressing their attention to minor problems while assuring the client that they will continue to probe until every relevant issue has been raised has enabled nouthetic counselors to get to the major problems much more rapidly than by other methods. I do agree with this. Like when you're in counseling, you should address the topic, the issues that are on the surface, and work your way down to the more deeper issues. I think that's the most effective way to do counseling. And yeah, and I just so I agree with that. Like I don't think you need to be a nouthetic counselor to do that. I think that's just common sense for all types of counseling. This is where I disagree with him. He said, everywhere immediate, if not complete change is pictured as possible. In each session, a counselor may say to his client, God can make things different this very day. Now, I'm not denying that God can make things different this day. Like, I'm not denying that. I think God could do whatever he wants at any time. However, I don't think God is not a genie. He's not going to magically make your mental illness go away. God, you can't pray your mental illness away. You can't speak scripture into your life and your mental illness is going to fizzle out. Dealing with your mental illness is a lifelong process. And it requires a lot of counseling. It requires taking medication. And it requires a lot of hard, dedicated work to keep your mental health stable. So I don't think God is going to magically make it go away. I don't believe that God is like that. This I agreed with. He said, there comes a point in counseling where in some cases it may be advisable for an outside counselor to call in the client's pastor. And I've said this before. I think that Christian counselors or Christian psychiatrists, not Christian counselors, any kind of counselor or any kind of psychiatrist should call in the client's pastor for additional support. Like, when you're dealing with someone who's a Christian and struggles with mental illness, they need both their pastor and their psychiatrist or counselor to work together to better help the clients. So I agree with that. I agree with this too. He said, counselors themselves should set a good example for clients by refusing to hide information or speak secretly about clients behind their backs. If there is something that needs to be said, let it be said in front of the client. Then there can be no suspicion, no question, no difficulties later on arising from secrecy. All that the counselor is going to say ought to be said, whether bad or good, whatever it may be, in the presence of the client himself. And I agree with that. If you have something to say about your client, counselors, if you have something to say about your client, psychiatrists, if you have something to say about your client, say it in front of them. Like, if you go behind their back and say all kinds of stuff behind their back, and the client finds out about it, then they're no longer going to trust you. They're going to think you're dirty and you're corrupt, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So if you're a counselor or a psychiatrist or whatever, please make sure whatever you gotta say about your client, you say it in front of them. Well, that's it for that chapter. That was chapter 9, everyone. I told you this video was gonna be a lot shorter. I will say that even though I agree with a lot of stuff that he says in this book, like, the stuff that he says that I agree with doesn't just apply to nouthetic counseling. It applies to all counseling, all psychiatry across the board. So I don't want you to get the impression that just because there's some things I agree with about in this book that I all of a sudden agree with nouthetic counseling. No, I personally believe that nouthetic counseling is harmful to Christians who suffer with mental illness. That's my honest, unbiased opinion. I think nouthetic counseling is harmful to Christians who suffer with mental illness. Does this mean that I think everything they say is wrong? No, I don't think everything they say is wrong. They say a lot of good stuff, but it's not stuff that pertains to just nouthetic counselors. And I think that's where this guy Jay Adams gets it wrong. Like, I think he's portraying that the truths that he's saying only pertains to, like, nouthetic counselors are the only ones that the truths he's saying it can apply to. I don't agree with that. I think the stuff he's saying can apply to all counselors, all psychiatrists. Like, I don't like my friend Britton in the interview the other day, he said he doesn't think there should be he doesn't think there should be a distinction between Christian counselors and secular counselors. They're just counselors. And I agree with that. They are just counselors. Like, whether they're a Christian or not. Like, all counseling is good advice. And anybody can give good advice as long as they have a sound mind and they can think rationally. Like, so that's how I feel about it. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I just want to make I'm going to do another announcement for this tomorrow, but I do want to say that I do have another person picked for my next episode of my series, His Strength and Weakness, where I interview a professing believer who struggles with mental illness, but still maintain their walk with the Lord. I have another person that I have lined up for an interview next week. So if you want to ask him any questions, post your questions in the comment section below, and I'll add that to my list of questions that I have for him. And I'm going to do another video where I announce this tomorrow. But I just wanted to put that out there so you guys can start thinking about your questions now. Alright, thank you for watching this video. As always, let me know what you think about anything I said today. And yeah, let me know anything about what you thought about anything I said today, and post it in the comment section below so I can read your comments. I love reading your comments. I know a lot of you don't really comment a lot, but when you guys do comment, I enjoy reading your comments. I genuinely do. So please leave a comment below so I can read your comments. Alright, have a good day. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to me, and ring that bell so you can know whenever I upload a new video. Alright, have a good day. God bless you, and deuces.